All right, welcome everyone. My name is Jeremy Mann. You can keep eating, but I'm going to give you a quick overview of the mission of our school. And I just want to say on behalf of our board and our staff and our families, we are so grateful that you're spending this time with us. We're going to have a neat journey together. We're going to laugh. I'm going to cry. We're going to learn about the work of this school. And you are going to be invited to help us build something special in Chicago for our children. Here's a picture of my family. We are less athletic than, let me get to it, than the McCall family. But you can see there are more of us, so we just swarm them. To explain the basis of the mission of the field school, I want to tell you about how I started my career. So I was a teacher of middle school students in Los Angeles, and I exclusively worked with students with special needs. I taught reading and math, and the school that I taught at was facing a lot of challenges. It was a rough school. It was in the bottom 1% of schools in California in terms of standardized test scores. But the children that were in my room were incredible. They were curious. They were eager to connect. They had different personalities and passions and interests. To use the words of C.S. Lewis, they were created to be everlasting splendors, so incredible that you'd almost be tempted to worship at their feet. But in the school where I was serving, they weren't given all the tools that they needed to succeed. In 2010, I took a new job here in Chicago, training other special education teachers, kindergarten through high school, working at more than 40 different schools in the city. And I learned that things are actually worse here than in Los Angeles. There's the exact same academic challenges. So to give you a sense of that, my family lives in the Austin neighborhood on the west side of Chicago. And the average 8th grader in Austin is reading and doing math at the level of 5th graders on average in other areas. But on top of that problem, there's another problem. Some statistical models say that Chicago is the most segregated city in our country. And that means that its schools are more segregated than the schools were in Los Angeles. And that's alarming, because the American education system as a whole now is more segregated than it has ever been since 1969. That's harmful for all of us, but it especially affects African American and Latino students who both aren't getting the academic training they need, but also aren't being prepared in environments that will imitate college and professional life. The field school exists to change that story. And our name comes from 2 verses in the Bible. One of them is a prayer, and one of them is a warning. The first one is Psalm 72:16. O Lord, may people flourish in the cities like the grass of the field. A little more pointedly is Proverbs 23:10. Do not encroach on the field of the fatherless, for their Redeemer is strong. There are amazing children in our city who, because of the effects of racial discrimination or material poverty or family hardship, do not have access to a good school. And this problem is deepening the racial inequalities in our communities. And here's what we do at the field school to address this. First, we reserve half of our seats for children from low-income families. And we give them home field advantage by putting the school in a neighborhood right where they live. And we bus other students in instead of busing those students out. Then we intentionally enroll middle-income families and high-income families. Everyone pays something. So a low-income family could pay as little as $1,200 for a year. A high-income family could pay as much as $20,000. And we want this to be a sacrifice, but feasible for any income bracket. And then we do everything we can to give these children the best education possible, while fostering a kind of larger community life that is marked by grace and mutuality and love. We opened our doors with this ambitious mission in 2017. It's our first day of school picture here. We were still learning how to sit in chairs in this first year. We had 45 students. And then we had 77 students. And then 119 students. And then 145 students. And then 198 students. And this year, 220 students. We've grown very quickly. Since we started, actually no, let me say this. You heard in that video, and you maybe noticed a change in the pictures. This last year, we took a vacant CPS campus that had been closed for 8 years, and we renovated the building, and we moved in. You heard about that new playground. We renovated a CPS campus and moved into that. This is a picture of that campus. So the building on the left is the building that we renovated and we occupy now. We own the large building on the right, which was built in 1905. And since we've opened as a school, we've learned some things. The first thing we've learned is that students really are capable. So we serve a student that has a significant population of low-income families. And yet this last year, 77% of our families, or our students, were at or above grade level. And this is in contrast to 17% of students in CPS and 44 students in Oak Park. And we're grateful for how well we've done on this metric, but as you've seen already and you'll hear more, we care a lot more about other things than standardized test scores. But this shows, at minimum, that children from any background, when given an exceptional education, can achieve inspiring results. The next thing we've learned is there's tremendous interest in this approach. So since our second year, we've sometimes had as many as 3 times as many new student applications as we have actual open seats. And these are families coming from all different demographics, different parts of the city. The last thing that we've learned is that the advantages of this approach are more profound than we initially realized. So research shows that when you have a class of low-income and high-income students together, the high-income students do just as well, and the low-income students do much better. We already knew that before the school started. But here are some things we've realized since starting the school. One is social capital is more easily shared in this type of school than lots of other community institutions, even churches. The next thing we've learned is this approach helps us be more dignifying to families in all different brackets. It's not a school just for kind of charity students. The next thing we've learned is this approach helps us be accountable as an institution because we have to outcompete the other school options that our middle and high-income families have access to. This approach is also more financially sustainable because we can generate tuition revenue and we don't only depend on philanthropic support. The last thing I would say is that as a Christian, I think this is a more healthy model for blessing and being blessed by my brothers and sisters and functioning in a way as a school that is emblematic of the way that God restores us to fellowship with Him. That's a quick overview of our mission with lots of different slides coming in and out. I hope that you get a sense for the distinctive way that we're trying to tackle a very threatening problem.